Ah, the dreaded Mitsubishi Magna wave spring. Been the cause of many transmission failures in Mitsubishi Magnas. TJ through TW, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's fine, because I like to learn. Should be one piece. Well, hi people, welcome to the shed again. Going to be a little bit noisy outside today. It's raining like crazy. In front of me I have a F4A 51 automatic transmission out of a, this one's particularly out of a 2000 model, late 2000 model Mitsubishi Magna TJ. When I bought this car that I got this transmission out of, I bought it with a known transmission issue. The description was that he pulled up at a roundabout and when he went to take off again, the car wouldn't go. It was like it was stuck in 2 gears. That was the description. So I bought it off him pretty cheaply. I had a spare one at the time. So today I'm going to pull this one apart. I've already had it apart and it's already pretty clean, but I'm going to pull it apart just to show you where the wave spring is that fails in these transmissions, and then I'm going to probably show you what I found in this particular transmission when I pulled it apart. I've already put the broken wave spring back in, or part thereof. And that wave spring that's back in there is out of my current car that I'm driving at the moment in another that had another failure as well from the same issue. Anyway, first of all, this cover here, I've got the transmission out of the car obviously. This cover here, there's a number of bolts, and they're all 12mm bolts. I've already had this off. Before I go any further, I'm going to say that I am not a mechanic. I'm not a automatic transmission specialist. I'm just a guy who has been playing around with cars ever since I don't know, I was 15 years old, tuning my my family's cars. Anyway, so I've had this one apart. I'm going to pull that those bolts out at the moment, and then we're going to pull that cover off to start with, and we're going to move on with what we need to do. So there we go. So that wave spring is under what is called the low reverse clutch packs. I have printed out pages of the instruction manual. This is the 4-speed automatic transmission. The 5-speed transmission has a few differences, so we'll show that some of those as we go along. I've never pulled apart a 5-speed before, only the 4-speed. This is my 3rd transmission that I've had with a wave spring issue out of 3 for 3. 2 of them I've repaired and had running back in the car. Okay, so this will need some levering to get off. I've already levered this off. It does have a sealant in the factory that stuck it together there. Okay, so that one I've already had it off, and you can see the sealant from the factory that's around the edge there. This is probably one of the ways to tell if your transmission has been worked on before. Quite possibly one way to tell is that orange seal there that's around the outside, and you'll see it from the outside but it's still together, is from the factory. Okay, I've replaced mine with a grey sealant, and that's fine. Okay, so the 4-speed transmission has these three O-rings here. And we're looking at the manual. The 5-speed's got another 2. I believe they're over here somewhere. I'm not sure. I can't recall. As I say, I've never pulled the 5-speed apart before. And there's another difference here somewhere with the 5-speed as well. Okay, so here, to start with, this here is the reverse and overdrive clutch. Okay, there's a thrust bearing in there. Now don't lose that. That needs to go back in. It sits back inside this. This runs on this housing here. Okay, so I'll pull that out. You grab it. It's pretty heavy, so firm hold. Okay, carefully, and that's that out to start with. Now I've set up 4 trays to put things into in order. I use aluminium foil trays. I'll show you that later on. So at the moment you can see in there that there's clutch packs that are in there, okay, or brake packs actually is what they technically call them in the manual. So pull that one out, put it down. Okay, from there I've got the overdrive clutch hub. Okay, and there's a thrust bearing that's in there somewhere. There it is there. So I'm going to put that over to the side there with the other piece I've just pulled. I'm just going to pull that out so I don't lose it. Okay, and I'm going to put that back where on the other face. Okay, so once I've got that there, I'm looking at the manual here at the moment. There's a planetary reverse sun gear, it's called. So I'm going to grab that one and lift that out as well. Okay, that's the casing for it. Putting that back in the stack, so I'm putting those together basically as they come out. And out comes that planetary gear. Planetary sun gear, that's a heavy sucker. Okay. Turning that over and putting that back with that other piece as well. Okay, so they're all one part there. Now, the dreaded wave spring is in under here, so we're going to get to that there. So I've never, the manual shows you pulling the oil pump out from the other side and pulling the other gears out. I've done a couple of these now, and I'll be able to repair it from this side only. I have pulled out the other side, but never the oil pump. I pull it out to change the oil filter with each one. Okay, so there's a snap ring here, rather large. Okay, we can mostly pull that out by hand, not a problem there. Just be careful we don't want to burr up the aluminium housing. So put that into a tray. Okay, and here we have the second brake piston. Pulling that out very carefully. Okay, and I've got that out. Okay, I've just noticed a little issue inside of here. And last time I put this one back together there, that I can see that little piece of rubber there. That little piece of rubber is from a seal that runs on the outside edge here, and that needs to be there. So if I was to repair this box now, I'd have to repair that there as well. And there is here is the return spring. It's like a wave form, wave shape, but it's not the wave spring that gives us problems. I'll pull that out and put that to the side. Okay, so under here we have pressure plate. Okay, this is where you need to pay attention to the way that each and every part comes out, because it all needs to go back in the same way if you're putting it back together again. So I'm putting it into my tray and I'm pulling out that set of clutch packs there, or brake discs as they're called. Okay, so there's a brake, a plate, brake, plate, brake, and plate there, and the brake. Okay, so I'm putting those together, how they came out into a tray there as well. Okay, so that's a little bit out of order to what the manual does, but it's actually easy to get them out the way I've just done that with getting that sun gear, planetary sun gear out first. Okay, so in here, under here, there's another snap ring, and then there's a reaction plate as well. So the snap ring, I'm going to find it down in there. Okay, I'm just going to pry that a little bit. Okay, got to be very careful here, don't want to damage anything that we shouldn't. There's the snap ring there. They're not too hard to get out actually, just a little tricky to get them moving. Once you get them out and moving, they're quite fine. Ooh. There we go. I've got that ready to come out. I'm just pulling that around. So I'm basically just tightening that up and pulling that out like that. Okay, so then we've got the reaction plate. Now that only goes in one way, so that's not so bad. It's got a little lug just there where my thumb is there, and it fits down in there. I've tried putting it the wrong way around, it doesn't work. Okay, so once again put that in the stack. Then under here there's another brake plate. Put that in the stack. And then there's another snap ring. Ouch! Ooh, nearly went through the glove. That hurt. Just slid that snap ring underneath my fingernail. It wasn't real good. Glad I had the gloves on. Okay, almost there. Just need to take that a little bit patiently. I've got it caught. Just going to lower that down a bit. There we go. So that's that snap ring out. Okay. Now that snap ring, we finally have the rest of the brake plates and the pressure plates there. So we've got brake plates. Okay. So once again, another set of brake plates there. I'll put that in my stack. All in order of the way I'm pulling them out. Got to remember also, you know, how many go back in place and so on. So down the bottom here is the final part, and underneath here you'll find the wave spring. So that there is the final pressure plate. If you look here closely, you might be able to see the damage that the broken wave spring has done on this plate here. I spoke to an automatic transmission place once, and they basically said scrape that off and put it back in. They actually said to be to turn around the opposite way, but that's not a face you want running on your clutch pack. So this face was smooth. I had one that was a bit damaged on both sides, and I ran on both. I ran it fine. The first one is I did, that brake plate there was probably not even half of that material left in there. Very good. It was torn up pretty badly. I put it back together, and I still did 40,000 kilometres with that without a problem. I don't advise it, but that's what I did, because I had the idea that if it breaks, I'll fix it. So here is the dreaded wave spring. That's not all of it. I'm just going to grab the rest of it. So the transmission that's in my car at the moment, this is what I pulled out of it. I pulled out that piece, that piece. Oops, 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 that's not a place to drop it. There we go, I've got it out. That piece, and then finally there was that little piece there as well. That's what told me that was knackered. So when I got this car, that this wave spring came out of, I thought, oh, I had to pull the gearbox out for a reason, or I had to pull the drive shafts out, and I thought, well, I better drain the oil out of the transmission. And the transmission has a magnetic plug. So I drained the transmission fluid out, and what came up with it? A piece of wave spring. So a number of people see those sort of things coming out of that transmission. It'll run for how long we don't know. The problem with and what happens with these is the catastrophic part is that can work its way through the oil filter, punch its way through the oil filter, end up in the oil pump, and once it's in the oil pump it'll blow the oil pump and basically and crack the transmission, and that's it. Transmission's dead. Catastrophic failure. These transmissions can run for years without this being a problem, but when they can go badly. This transmission here, when I pulled it apart, I found a piece of wave spring stuck between the plates, and so my uneducated, because I'm not a transmission specialist, would be that it's got jammed in between the plates, and it's locked the plates up and not let the plates slip like they should do for running. Okay, so that was the problem with it. So what can you do with those? So these models is from like the 2000 model that I know of, through to the TJ, through to the TL. My understanding is that the TW had what's called a wave ring put in it, and what I've replaced the couple I've done is with a wave ring. So it's a solid ring, there's no join in it, it's just a solid ring that fits down in the groove down in here, and it's about 3mm thick, and it's also in a wave pattern. But because it's about 3mm thick there, it will not break, and that'll last you for years and years. What does that do? My understanding is that the wave spring would cushion the clutch packs as the clutch packs get pushed in by the piston there. so it doesn't sort of like just bang into gear. Okay, so that is the dreaded wave spring. That's how they can end up looking. And another installment, I'll put the transmission back together, but I won't have an actual revised spring to put it back in, but I will put it back together so I can show you how it goes back together. Okay, that's all. Thank you. Thanks for watching.